So last night, I was like going over my presentation. I was like, oh, I cannot mess up. I cannot screw up. But what I realized was that life is full of memories, and so let's make this one. Dynamic data retrieval using application programming interface. So to get started, about me, I'm in 8th grade and I'm currently attending Cañada High School. I've been a part of IF Research Lab for about a year now, and I've been at the previous IFCon. So my presentation will be split up into 4 parts: API, weather app, interactive background, and future work. So let's get started. Section 1, application programming interface. You might be wondering, what is API? What does API stand for? It stands for Application Programming Interface. What does it do? API connects apps together or retrieves data from a database. How does it work? It uses front-end and back-end programming. This has been explained by Jimin. Thank you, Jimin, for the wonderful explanation. But you might be wondering, I'll go a little bit more in depth into what an API's role is in front-end and back-end programming. So I'll use a restaurant as an example. Say you're a customer and you walk into a restaurant. There will be a dining area, and this is the front end or the UI of the web page. When you order your food, the servers take your order to the cooks. The servers are the APIs and the cooks are the back end. After the food is finished cooking, the servers will take the food and give it back to the customers. And this is how APIs carry information from the back end to the front end. So since we now know how APIs work, I'll show you how I implemented API into my weather app. So section 2 is my weather app. So this is the development. This weather app was created using CSS, JS, and HTML. These are components, or actually CSS is cascading style sheets, JavaScript is, or JS is JavaScript, and HTML is hypertext markup language. These are the components, these are the 3 components that work together to make up the web page and many more, like almost all the web pages that exist right now. So openweathermap.org is a website that holds all my data for the weather. The OpenWeatherMap API holds many data sets, including the temperature, highs and lows, pressure, country, and weather description. The OpenWeatherMap API key has more than 200,000 cities. So how does the OpenWeather app's API work? The user has a user input. In our case, it would be a city, and it goes through the web page. After it goes through the web page, it makes an API call to the server. The server then, with all the data, it transfers that into a JSON file format, and this JSON file format is then displayed back to the user. So section 3 is my interactive background. I thought, what could I do to make this project mine? And I thought of making 8 backgrounds that interactively change based on real-time data. These include the clear, cloudy, rainy, and snowy backgrounds, and there are 2 types, nighttime and daytime. So I have a video for you guys. Okay, so as you can see, the background changes based on the time zone and weather in that current city. There are also components such as highs and lows, city, time, and country. And this is like what my weather app looks like. And I have a demonstration for you guys, so if you want to try out my weather app, you could use your phone to scan the code.
Just make sure that the rain comes up, right?
Okay, I don't know if it's going to be.
Let's see if it is working.
Yeah. So the default is Los Angeles, and it should be rainy. If it's not, I think something's wrong. Or wait, radio or clouds, okay? Because it's like, no. And so there are a few limitations to my weather app, and it is that there are only 4 types of weather. And I mean, there should be some more like mist and haze that I will add later on. And another thing is that the accuracy is not 100%. I'm not saying that it's wrong, but then it is 98%. Like the accuracy of my app is around 98%, and it's because that it's not using the same API, like the database, as the ones that are on your phone or on like Google. And I just want to say that like I would prefer 98% over 100. But for my future work, I have learned so many things thanks to this project, and thanks to Sam, and thanks to my group members. In the future, I'll try to minimize my limitations, and I'll continue to excel in programming. Thank you.
Thank you so much, man, for your question. To answer the questions. And now, from nowadays, today, I have I bookmark your website, so I can check your weather from this website. Thank you so much. So, any question from the audience? Yeah.
You might just read out the metadata for your forecast, right? Or you're doing your own forecast?
No. I'm not a weather forecaster.
If you're reading metadata for the forecast, and where did you read it? And how can you just transfer it to the JSON file?
That is the work of the API, and let me go back to one of my slides. So I'll go back to here. When the API call is made, it goes into the server, which is the Open Weather App org, and that's where it has all the database, and for the weather, and the temperature and the weather description. And that is and the server, the API takes the information and data from the server and sends it back to the user. So that's what the API is doing.
So did you make that API, or the user?
Oh no, there's an API key that I used. You can't really, I didn't make the API. It's the API that's on the org, the website.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Actually, this API reminds me something about my experience about learning the programming at the beginning. When I was a college student, at that time I tried to make some data networking programming from scratch, and I spent a few weeks and I failed. But after that, I found that there is an API that I can use, and it was so surprising to have those kind of API, and understanding how people are working is kind of understanding the API. So understanding the API is so important, and I think if you have this understanding, then I think you can just design any other app so easily. So this is so important experience. So any question from the audience?
Yeah.
You used the analogy of a server in a restaurant for an API.
Yeah.
Now suppose I am a server that is already attending to a customer, and meanwhile 3 new customers come in and want my attention. What do you do with that?
The restaurant is only an analogy. The API, it's not just one server. I use the analogy of API being a server because of the work it's doing. It doesn't really mean that there's one API and that it can only serve one person at a time. Multiple people could be accessing the API, what the API does. So yeah.
I think his question is more if you're a restaurant owner.
Yeah,
and then
I guess the question is more if you are designing
Right.
an API, or if you can guess how the API, so if your current API got 5 people in this room try to hit up your website at the same time, do they have 5 servers? Do they have 10 servers? How do they know how many servers they need? Just like trying to think ahead if you were to build your own API.
I would say the amount of APIs would be the same as how many people are logging on, but I'm not 100% sure. So yeah.